This is going to be a fun episode, I'm sure. Welcome, Kim, to the Flower Podcast.
Thank you. It's so nice to finally get on here. I've been listening to you for years now.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Well, when I learned about you and what you do, I'm like, could not wait to have you on the podcast because I feel like it's just, I don't know, more and more our industry, the floral industry, it just touches and is touched by so many other industries. And your background and everything, I don't know. I think we're going to have a good time.
I so too.
For everybody, I always like to start with how did you get into flowers? Kind of how did you navigate into the community?
Oh gosh. Well, I first started with flowers when I was in high school. I worked at a local flower shop as an extra helper for holidays and things like that. And I loved it. And my two best girlfriends worked there with me. And so they taught us how to make corsages and little basic bouquets and Christmas arrangements, things like that, and how to do FTD orders on the phone. And it was one of those small town upstate New York. And I loved it. I just loved it. But then I went to college for theater design and I didn't really think about it because I didn't really see myself working in a flower shop. And
Sure.
really, that's all I thought existed. I didn't really know there was another world out there where you could do events and installations and all sorts of things that the city that I live in now, New York City, well, on the other side of the river in New Jersey, but they have so many opportunities for floral design. And I didn't really know that any of that existed. So off I went to my theater career. And then now I'm in the film business. So,
That's so cool. Well, and so what and through your film experience,
okay.
you got to start playing with flowers again or
Yeah. So, as a set decorator, one of the things that you have to do on the set is bring everything. You have to bring whatever the set calls for. So, if it's a bar, you have to bring the stools, the liquor, everything, lighting. And if it's, a hotel, like the Black Lotus set we just did, I had to bring, giant flower arrangements for the hotel. So either you can hire somebody and go bring them and pick them up. And, through my decorating, I love doing the flowers. And so what had happened was I was helping another decorator friend of mine because like you do in the flower business, I'm sure, freelancers help each other. And so same
right?
thing on film and TV, the set decorators help each other out. So I was helping my girlfriend on the movie The Post with Steven Spielberg directing and was towards the end of the day and she said, "Oh gosh, I forgot to go get the flower arrangements for it was a set for Meryl Streep." I was like, "Oh, I'll do it. I love to do the flowers." She's like, "Are you kidding?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "Oh, I hate it." I was like, "I love it. I'd rather just do the flowers." She's like, "Why don't you just do the flowers?" I was like, "I don't know. Why don't I just do the flowers?" She's like, "You should just do the flowers." So, um, I was like, Yeah, I think I want to just do the flowers." And so that's what prompted me to go take a few courses and get a little bit more formal training. And I just kind of jumped into it. And a friend of mine at the same time was considering it too. So her and I started Mac and the Mushroom together. And then throughout the first year, she decided that it wasn't really exactly what she wanted to stick with. So I transferred everything over into the business name into my name. But yeah, and just kept on with it. And at first I wasn't sure where I was going to go with it. And it just keeps transforming. I'm not exactly, sure where it's going to end up, but I think the flower journey is doesn't really matter. As long as you're still doing flowers, it doesn't matter, to me where exactly I'm doing them. So,
Sure. Well, if the pandemic taught us anything, it is to be flexible and pivot and all those words we all hate now because we're tired of hearing them. But we have to be flexible. And
absolutely.
the opportunities come from, every which way. And I think that's fascinating. Now we kind of glanced over this talking about film and set design, but you do set design for SNL.
I do. I
And
work on the pre-tape filmed units. So what we do are the sets and props and everything like that for one of the film units. So Saturday Night Live actually has 3 pre-taped film units. And my husband and I design one of the units. He's a production designer. I'm one of the set designers slash set decorators. And so we have our own crew, our own team, which is amazing because we have the same work schedule. So that
that's
works out
helpful.
really well.
Wow, that's great. Well, I'd love to. I know it's so funny. You sent me a link to a YouTube video that I watched because it was kind of like, what all goes into a week at
Correct.
SNL. And it's like, people have no idea. I mean,
Well, it's not even a week. If it's Wednesday
right.
night to we shoot Friday. So we only have 3 days where the live show has 4 days.
Uh,
So we like to think that we're put under a little bit more pressure than they are, although they do have to perform live. We do have the opportunity to do a few takes. So what we do are the fake music videos, we do fake television commercials, we do spoofs, anything like that. So it's a lot of fun. We giggle a lot, but there is a lot of pressure and there's a lot to be done in just a short amount of time.
sure. So you, on any given week, you get, I mean, do you get to do flowers every week for the sets or
I
do,
do. I do. So, well, not every week for the sets. It depends on what skit we get, and if the set requires flowers, then absolutely I do the flowers. But during the pandemic, we had to pivot, as you say, and we used to go on locations. So once everything happened, they want us to get back to work. So our executive producer, Dina Moles, came up with this amazing idea to rent a huge warehouse and turn it into our own stage. So the film unit got their own stage. We took a completely nasty warehouse and transformed it into stages, into like a proper stage. So it took a few months and a little bit of everyone's soul, but we did it. And so with that, she said, I want the actors when they come and the cast and the hosts and the musical talent, whoever comes to be on our film set, to feel amazing when they come here. So we made, we got really beautiful furniture for the green rooms and for their dressing rooms, and everyone had their own spaces. Obviously, because of COVID, we all couldn't be very close
right?
together anyway. So she said, I want you to do flowers every week for the dressing rooms and the producers' rooms and the directors' rooms. And so it started out that way. And the second year we moved to another stage and everyone was like, we're still getting flowers, right? So we did. And everybody loves them. I think it really brings a lot of joy. And as everyone knows, as soon as you walk into a room and you see flowers, you just light up. And it just makes everyone a little teeny bit happier, especially if they have to show up in the middle of the night to shoot something and, stay long hours. At least when they go back to their dressing room for a few minutes, they have something pretty to look at and make them feel really good.
That's really awesome. And and it's so funny how just that little special touch can transform, that experience
Yeah.
for a guest or director or whoever it is.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
absolutely. And then, they're in their offices and, people take them home or, I see them, people reuse pieces of it and things that are still alive. I see in their offices the next week and it's great.
Yeah, that has to make you feel good.
Yeah,
So,
it's very
so
good.
So, okay. So you started with someone, but now it's yours, the Mac and the Mushroom. That's
Yes,
the name of your floral business. And
correct.
when I first read that, I thought, where did you come up with that name? I can't wait to hear the story.
Well, it's very tricky to find a design name or something that's unique. There are a lot of floral studios, a lot of floral designers, and any name that you could probably think of is already taken. Okay, so you need to have something that you can put on your website. You need to have an Instagram account. You need to have so you have to
Right.
go through and make sure there's no, you know, that there's no other names that someone else has, or something that would conflict if you're trying to get online. So my name is Kim. My partner's name at the time was Jean, and nobody's last name was really exciting, and it was really challenging to pick a name. And we would talk to people about it for months. Everybody was sick of hearing it. And my husband's sister, excuse me. So my husband's sister, I was showing her some pictures one day. It had nothing to do with anything else. And my dog, who I loved to death, he passed away, the love of my life, it was a picture of Mac and this giant mushroom. It must have been a good foot. And he was sniffing at it. And it was at the time bright orange. I'd never seen anything like it. And they
My
grow out of the
goodness.
bases of oak trees. And it was just like a cool picture. I was like, look at this picture of Mac and the mushroom. And Kathy said, that's a great name. Why don't you use that? And he's like, okay, let me think about it. And then we thought about it and we talked about it, and it kind of, nobody hated it. So I was like, I don't hate it. So let's just try it.
How fun. No, I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of a fun name, especially, the kind of creative energy that with your set design and flowers and all of that. I mean, it's just, it's just kind of neat.
Yeah.
So,
And
so
he'll
what?
always
Yeah.
be part of my life. He'll always be my boy, my first boy, and animals have a way of just staying with you and having such a lasting impression on who you are. And he taught me a lot, and his spirit was amazing, and just how to come into a room and be positive and be happy and just live life for right now. And so I think that has a lot to do with flowers too. It's like they're living right now, and it's in the moment, and that kind of feeling where you're really present means a lot, especially in the life of flowers as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I really do, because so much goes into growing them and designing them and just nature and harnessing that beauty. And yeah, it's
Yeah,
that's
and they
that's a
have a
great
short
point.
little life. They just have their own short little life. So
Right.
you have to enjoy them while you have them.
Sure. So, when you do these green rooms or the guest rooms and you're doing flowers for them, do they have special requests, or do
No.
you get to do whatever you want
I
to
get to do
do?
whatever I want. So usually I'll see who the host is and I take some inspiration from that. I'll see what they're working on or what kind of personality they have. I'll Google image them and see what, press images they have. If they lean towards a certain color, I'll use that. And it's, seasonal too, whatever's in season, I'll get at the flower market. And yeah, so I can pretty much pick what I want. And I have a group of a few different vases that we choose from. So depending on what flowers I choose, then we can have short ones or tall ones or gold or white. I have some basic ones that we have in our repertoire that we pull out every week, but I rotate them around and try and mix it up a bit. But they're always colorful.
How fun. Do
Yeah.
you I'm just curious, when you're doing these sets, you just don't think about you're doing all of this work for maybe what, a couple of minutes? Um
Usually the skits are, yeah, they cut them to probably, yeah, anywhere from 2, 3, 4 minutes, depending on what. So the reason that they do the pre-tape film pieces is to intersperse them with the live show. So they take up the time that the live show is taking one set down and setting up another set. That's when there will be a commercial break. So during that time, depending on what needs the show has for times, then they fill it. So if it's during dress rehearsal, it only took them 4 minutes to break down the set and get it back in, then great. But if it only took them 3 minutes, then sometimes our piece has to get cut down.
oh
And they
wow.
edit it that night, between shows.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
The timetable just blows your mind when you watch all the pieces that happen. And I mean, you guys are like working 24 hours a day practically. I mean, around
Yeah,
the clock doing
exactly.
all these different pieces and everyone's
Yeah,
different parts.
there's hundreds of people that work on one show, and they yeah, we work through the night most of the time. Not myself
Wow.
personally. I mean, sometimes I'm there late, but I don't stay overnight. I usually Wednesday nights we do the read through, and we have a design meeting, and then we come up with a design right then and there, and so we have like a couple hours to put it together and figure out what we could possibly get on Thursday morning. And then Thursday I start right at 7 in the morning, and we go shopping and rent stuff, and I'm on the phones, and we do scouts, and everybody has meetings, and then we just keep at it, and we have a whole team that does everything. And we have, people who paint the set, people who dress the set, uh, then we have a team of people that light it, shoot it, it's costumes, everything. So yeah, we're in charge of the whole look of it, but it's a lot. It's a lot. So then usually by 6 or 7 o'clock at night, then I have a little flower room set up at the stage, and then I'll go and take little breaks in between and do the flowers and get them ready for the shoot for the next day.
Mm. Well, we'll have to put a link on your page on our website that takes people to see that video you shared
Oh, sure.
because I think it's like just mind blowing. All the people, the timetable, the people editing because like what you're producing during the day gets edited that night, or you've got special effects people dropping things in and
That's
all
right.
this other kind of stuff. And it's just it's really blows my mind to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a
Um,
lot of moving parts, and so I don't have any problem working at that pace. And so with flowers, I think my business, I'm okay with people who are calling me and say, "Oh, you probably don't want to do this, but I have a wedding next week." I'm like, "Yeah, I do. You're my girl." Yeah.
I think
So
sometimes that's easier
yeah,
because you don't have all these meetings, you don't have all these walkthroughs because you don't have time for that.
that's right.
And then a lot of times I don't feel like they're as picky about, they leave it up to you because they trust you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
I
love
love
those
that.
clients.
Yeah, I love that. So, the your business Mac and the mushroom. So, does it? You just touched on this. Does it do primarily weddings or just kind of anything that has to do with flowers?
Uh, I I primarily do weddings and events, and I'm trying now to push my way back into the photo world. I would like to do some fashion shoots, a little bit more of still life.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, that's fun.
yeah, I really love photography, and I would like to get involved with some more film. And I do a little bit of film, but I'm not typically there for the shoots. They'll maybe set decorators will call me, other friends and colleagues of mine, for things they need for a set, and I'll make it for them, and they pick it up, and then off it goes. So I never see it on the set usually, but I would really like to get involved more with fashion shoots and print shoots, and just go back into that world a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I
So
think it allows for a little bit more creative
absolutely.
process, and and there's so especially in New York City. I mean, between the amazing flower market you have
I know.
and the
I
people
know.
that live there and all the between fashion and advertising and film and sets and I mean all these
Right.
things, there's just so many opportunities to do so many different things.
There are. And sometimes I'll just wait until I get to the flower market and see what they have there too, because sometimes there's things I've never seen, and I think, well, why not? Let's just try it. Let's see how it works. And it takes a lot of time and energy to test things out, and I have that opportunity. I'm very blessed that I can do that. on the weeks that I have a show, I can try something out and we'll see how it goes. Let's see if it holds up. And I usually will ask the advice of the wholesalers. I'll say, what about this? Is this going to last till Friday night? Or, am I going to get this to open in 2 days? Or,
Right.
what is the process of this? And there's people don't realize how much science is involved in these flowers. And you get it home and you have this tight little rosebud, and 2 days later, that thing is ready, popping to go if you treat it right.
No, that's really true. And that's a great point too. You're taking advantage of your weekly florals to try new things and to
Yeah.
experiment with new things. And you
Mhm.
get to see people's reactions. Well, maybe you don't, but you might hear some reactions.
Yeah, of course.
So out of with the show, um do you have are there any stories like with people in your flowers, or I don't know, just kind of interactions that you've
Well,
had?
you do. It's funny because people will come by. My room is in a corner, like towards the back hallway, so it's not a thoroughfare where people just walk by all the time. There are certain offices that people pass by all the time, and sometimes when someone will maybe get lost and come back, they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is where you are. Oh, we love your flowers." And one time I ran into Chloe Fineman in the elevator and she was like, "I gotta just tell you, I love these flowers. They're amazing. Thank you so much for having them every week." I'm like, "Thank Dina." She's the one who came up with the whole idea. And I'm just really fortunate to be the one to pass them along.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. And that's when you really, I don't know, it makes you feel good, like you make a difference and
Yeah.
in someone's day. I think that's awesome.
Especially, if anybody shows you any kind of appreciation, you're very thankful for it.
Sure. I'm wondering, how long have you been doing set decorations for SNL?
I've been there. This is my 10th season.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
I know.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. We
And yeah.
we've evolved a bit over the years. When I first started out, I was doing the digital shorts. Sorry. Um, and it was with the Lonely Island. They were a small little group, and we would just be in a van and we would just go to a few places at a time and shoot what we could shoot and just get it and go. And now we have a whole production and a whole stage, and it's grown so much, and it's really amazing. It's a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
we are like a big family. Everyone is very happy to work there, and we all work as a team. And we always say it takes a village, and I mean, we couldn't do anything without our crew. They are the hardest working people you
Yeah.
can imagine.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, you know, I, I think, being that you have the opportunity to kind of be, a floral designer, doing weddings and things, you're doing the set design. I'm just curious as far as, being in this business, doing what you do, have you had any particular challenges, things that were just really tough, that you had to push through and navigate?
Yeah, well, getting into the business was a challenge in itself. The union that I belong to now is called IATSE. It's International Alliance of Theatrical and Stage Employees. And I think on most movies you would see at the end, it's like a little bug, they call it. It's a 5-star logo with the union number in it. And it's a big accomplishment to get into that union, but it took me about 4 years to get in. And as a woman, it's not very easy to get these jobs. Most of the people I work with are male, and most of the union members at the time were men. Now, over the the years, it's become more diverse, and there's been many more women allowed and let in, and they're much more accepting than they were, I think, years ago. So that was a big challenge to get in as a woman, not having any family members
Mm,
that I could rely on for for a little bit of support, because you have to take a test to get in the union. And then you also have to be sponsored and voted in by your peers. So
Wow.
it's a challenge. And it's quite an accomplishment. Once you do get in, they welcome you with open arms, and they treat you like family, and you are supported once you are in. But getting in was something. And I think women, in our business, we work really hard. Not that the men don't work just as hard, but I think we feel like, since there's not as many of us, we really have to push to show that we are equal members, and we pull our weight, and that's hard to do. Um Physically, one thing. But yeah, it's a challenge. And then once I got with in the floral design industry, I was like, wow, there are just tons of women. Not that there aren't men, but it's primarily women, I find. And they're all these like badass business owners, and they're nice, and they're happy. And I mean, yes, some of them will, you catch them on a different season. They might be stressed out in the middle of summer. They've had too much and extended themselves too far, and things have gone wrong. But I have to say that the incredible support that I've seen with the other floral designers in my area has been great. That was one of the things when I first started out. I wasn't sure, who, I could confide in. Are people just going to think that, there's competition here, like, oh, this is a new girl, thinks she's going to be a floral designer. But yeah, I reached out to people and was just like, hey, I'm new into the business, and just would, like to get together, have a coffee, or meet other event planners and just other people that were in the business. And I ended up renting a studio in Hoboken, New Jersey, and I share it with a calligrapher and a photographer. And we now have like a group of girls that get together, and we talk about different things and brainstorm. And so I think having that support, it has been really great. So, it's a little bit different than the film business, but still great support from both arenas. It just, being around women, though, who can just basically do anything is amazing. I mean, these women floral designers, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
They're hauling buckets, driving trucks, pulling stuff out of vans, middle of the night, changing stuff over, going back to your weddings and collecting things and garbage. It's a lot involved, a lot of behind the scenes, which is very similar to what we do in the film business. And so to me, it was just like, this is where I fit in. These are my people.
Yeah, it's almost natural at that point.
Yeah, it felt very comfortable to me to do more of what I'm doing, but just stick with the florals. Like, that was the thing that really resonated with me in a creative way, to just kind of stay with one piece of the set. So if I was very interested in upholstery, I guess, that's something you can do. You work on movies, you can pick whatever upholstery you want for the furniture that goes in there. And there's a lot of details that go into the set, but my favorite part is the flowers. And so I definitely lean towards just doing that on set if I can.
Well, I don't, I mean, it's so interesting. So my kids, for people, who are new to the podcast, they have recently started working at the wholesale house where I buy flowers. And so they're getting an education, and they kind of grew up in the business, right? I mean, they kind of didn't have a choice, but now they have had a choice, and they're working there. Anyway, it's interesting though, because all of a sudden you start hearing them make these comments like noticing flowers on a TV set, like when you're
Oh
watching a
yeah.
program or in a movie or in a magazine or a billboard or, all these places you
Yeah,
see
they're everywhere.
flowers, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome that they're everywhere. But I think that there's so many times I was watching an episode of Modern Family the other day, watching some, going back, watching some of this and just seeing just the simple placement of flowers, but they're there in every single episode.
Nice.
And you just think, this is a way we normalize this for all of us, right? And,
Absolutely.
because we want everybody to enjoy flowers,
And you
not
should
just on,
enjoy it every day.
yeah, exactly. It's not just for weddings and it's not just for funerals and it's not just for, hotels and things like that. It's something we should enjoy every day.
Yeah, everybody enjoys them. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever mad when you show up with the flowers.
Well, they
You
better
know?
not be.
No, I mean, why would you be? I
I
mean,
know.
it just seems it's it is such a crazy thing. It's like the sun. It's just like everybody's happy when the sun is out. And so everybody happy when you show up with flowers. It's the same that same feeling of positivity. Like there's hope, there's goodness, and there's beauty in this world. And I see it and I feel it, and you brought it here in a
Yeah,
little
absolutely.
container. you
Well,
know,
I
here
love,
it is.
sorry.
No, I was just saying, like when you show up with it, it's like, oh my gosh, so it's like you brought the sunshine in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's really neat and special. And I love the fact that where you have your business, you have these other people that have their own businesses that I don't know. I feel like a lot of times when you see other businesses and other interactions, like whether it's calligraphy or whatever it is, it's like you you can learn from these other entrepreneurs
Yeah.
and on maybe how to do things for your business or collaborate.
Absolutely. Yeah, and, we try and meet every once in a while. There's maybe like 5 or 6 floral designers, and everybody does something a little bit different. There's one girl that she's like the queen of Smilax. She will hang a whole town with Smilax, and I am not that girl. And so I just am fascinated by her and what she does on lifts. I'm like, "You're crazy." And then there's another girl that's, she's like really, really amazing at like whimsy. Everything's whimsical and it's flowy and flirty, and I love it. And it's just not something that I physically am, drawn to. Mine is like bold, you know, my designs, I feel they're a little bit more chunky, or they're definitely more how do I say it? I don't know. I like bright, and I picked some flowers for my wedding, and they were like, "Oh, that's so you." I had somebody else doing. They're like, "It's so you." It's so bright, and I think the brighter the better. And a lot of people don't want that. They want green and
Right.
white, and for your weddings, to blush and things like that. And I can do it. I'll definitely do it if that's what you want. Um, but I love when clients just let you go crazy with it. And my I guess my pushiness this year is I'm I've been, how do I say it? So this year I have had a lot of weddings that love bright color, and so they come to me for that, and they let me help persuade them to do all different arrangements at their wedding. So not every table has the same arrangement on every placement. So I came up with a theme, but I said, maybe this table's a little bit taller. This one's a little bit shorter. This one has a little more blue. This one has a little more red. This one has a little more yellow. And everybody gets their own arrangement. And so you can come over at each other's tables and you go, "Oh, what did you get? What's on your table?" Not same, same, same. And we did the same thing with the brides and the bouquets, and switched it all up. And all the groomsmen had different things. And I like that. I like that um all of the floral designers do their own thing. And so we talk about it. We have coffee and we'll just go on about our things. And one girl has a retail business, and so she tells us her woes. And so it's nice. It's nice to have that support and that group of women nearby that you can count on.
That's great. Well, and I love the fact that you were able to persuade them to do that.
Well,
Like
I
do
have to
different
say,
tables.
I wasn't the one to persuade them, but I was right there, um, meeting up with them at drinks and things like that. And there was kind of like a meetup with all business owners in Hoboken. And so that's where we all met originally. And then one of the girls was like, "We should do this again." And she gets us all on an Instagram chat and sets it up, and we meet up, and it's really nice. It's really nice.
I guess I'm talking about like when you were saying, and so we can fix this however we need to, but when you were doing that, I thought it was a wedding or
Mhm.
something where the tables were all different.
Yes.
That I think that is amazing. I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
I wish more people did that because
Yeah.
I know this when you enter and of course it's because I'm a flower nerd, but when I enter a room and I can see that, it makes me want to really walk around the room and see what these other pieces are, what's going on. And anybody who enjoys flowers or the colors and all that, I think it really adds a value to what you've done for your client.
Yeah, I like to encourage them to not be so cautious about the stem count, or do I need this exact color, and just talk about more of your feeling. Like, what are you looking for in your event? Like, what do you want to
Mm.
feel? What do you want your guests to feel? And then let's talk about that first, and then we can pick the flowers from there, and we can cultivate like a design sense for you. And so you'll have your feeling, and then we're going to make it even more beautiful than you can imagine. But let's talk about like what you want your guests to experience. And some people want romance, and some people just want it to be fun and dancy. And everybody's got a different way that they want to interpret their most amazing day of their life. And I never understood what that was until I got married this year, and I was like, "Oh, now I get it. Now I get it." Right? And so I let someone else do the flowers, because all the girls were saying to me, "Don't do it yourself. I know you think you can do it, but just don't do it." So I took their advice and let somebody else do it. Um, but it's hard to hand over the reins to someone else when you're a little bit of a control freak. Especially with, something that you do yourself. I'm sure it's hard for makeup people to not have somebody, to have someone else do their makeup on their wedding day. But um, we're all professionals, and everybody's good at what they do for a reason, and so if you just trust in your professionals, then I think you'll have an amazing day.
Absolutely.
I love when clients are open to that.
Yeah. Well, and I think it makes such a better experience for the guests for their day and enjoying their day and not getting overly stressed or micromanaging
Yeah.
and all of those things.
Yeah.
I'd like to go a little deeper if we could on this idea that you try to talk to them about what do they want their guests to feel, because I think sometimes people are so busy trying to convey this vision they have for their wedding, and they don't think about that. They don't, it's like that's the afterthought. Like
Uh-huh.
what are the guests going to experience? So is
Right.
that something you find difficult to talk with people about, or do they open up
No,
right away?
no, they usually do. I find it's amazing that the couples come usually by themselves. Sometimes a mother or an aunt or a family member will come with them. And I've been really lucky. The people that I've dealt with have been amazing, and they're really open to new ideas. And I'll show them, this is how we can make it great. And through doing set designs for many years, I've had to come up with the feelings of many different places. It's like what will make a hospital look like a hospital? What will make a restaurant be a restaurant? What will make a nightclub feel nightclubby? And so I feel like that feeling is what people want for to have their event really stand out and to be exactly what they want it to be. Some people just want it to feel like a garden, or they want they're concerned about the pictures, or they're not concerned about the pictures, and they just want to have fun, or they hadn't thought about it. Some people don't even they don't know what flower names are, and I'll say,
Right.
well, is there a color that you like? And then we'll start looking at colors, and so we'll break it down that way. But yeah, you want people to absolutely get what they want. I mean, that's what that's why that's one of the reasons I like doing flowers, is to get people to enjoy that feeling, that elated feeling that I get as I'm designing them. So it's like you want to walk in the room and feel that same feeling. When someone drops off your flowers, you want to walk in and go, wow, this is
Yeah.
awesome. I love this. Somebody did this for me.
I love that. Well, and it's interesting because coming from a set background, that's something I would not have thought about. Like, the mood that a hospital had, like you said, versus a restaurant or a nightclub, or what. And when you say it, it's like, well, that seems common sense, but yet, how many people don't think about that?
Yeah.
And evoking that mood or emotion when you first walk in to kind of how somebody would feel in that situation.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that's
when
interesting.
when the directors walk on the set, you just want them to go, "Oh, you nailed it. Killed it. It's great." Or you don't want them to say anything. We always say that's the ultimate compliment. Nobody said anything. There were no notes.
There were no notes. That's awesome.
When there are no notes, that's good.
That's funny. I
Yeah.
love that. That's
Yeah.
things you don't think about. So uh this year, that we're kind of, I feel like this year is getting sort of back to normal.
Mhm.
Like the pandemic, like the wedding craze was over a little bit, and
Yeah, and
um yeah.
that condensed everybody trying to catch up has kind of people get to exhale a little bit, and I've had multiple calls for 2024, and I'm like, "Wait a second, how many months away is that? That's a lot of months away, and I can't even think about that yet."
That's crazy. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of wondering, like, how do you feel business is going for you, or for, like being in New York is a very different experience. Um, Being in the city that never sleeps. Just kind of, how are things gelling, I guess, up there? How are things,
I
working
feel
out?
like there's definitely been a beat of pause, not as much craze as the last 2 years, people trying to catch up, or just do things that maybe they had to pivot for shift around different things, or they had
Hmm.
one place set up and then we had to go to a different place, or they lost their locations and things like that. And things that would really just scramble people, I'm fine. I'm like, okay, there's no problem. We lose our locations all the time. We're gonna move somewhere else. Sometimes we build a set and then they change the script, and we're building something else. So that I'm okay with changes last minute, but I do think that it's slowed down. I would say just a hair for sure. It on my end anyway. I'm not sure if other people are experiencing that. I think that the last minute requests and the I'm gonna have a wedding in 4 or 5 or 6 months has like toned down a bit, and people are looking to the future to do their events at this point.
Well, I know that takes some pressure off and stress off, and gives you time to plan things. But
Yeah.
it's always good to know that there's people like you out there that at the drop of a dime you can pull it together and make it happen. So
Yeah, I mean, if you can get a crew together, you can do just about anything.
I love that. That's actually really true.
Yeah, it's
Um,
very true.
yeah. So, Kim, with the last name like Kachougian, and I know that, did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, great. So, and I know in reading your bio and stuff that you consider yourself an Armenian American, and I'm just curious, and being from New York, I mean, it's such an incredible melting pot of people. I know there has to be a story with your family and coming here, and I don't know, how much you want to share, but I'd love to hear how how you got to be in New York.
Well, my grandfather came over from Turkey with a friend of his from Romania and her daughter, and he had to marry her to get her into the country. So that happened, and they fell in love and had 12 children in upstate New York. So my mom was the youngest of 12, and they were a very hardworking family. And how I got to New York was, through them, being in upstate New York. But I actually went to school in Long Island for set design. I went to Adelphi University, and after that, I moved to New York City because that's what you do if you want to be in the film business or
Sure.
in the theater business. This is where you got to be. And yeah, we started working in New York and moved here, and it was great. But yeah, my mom growing up with, that many brothers and sisters was crazy for my mom, but for us, we had dozens of cousins. So that was always so amazing. And we're all still very close, which is nice. A lot of us are very close. But a lot of us are really spread out in age too. So some of my cousins are 20, 30 years older than me,
Oh,
which,
how interesting.
yeah, well, and my mom had an aunt that was the same age as her. That's what happens if you have 12 children, everybody's spread out. But yeah, we really, really hardworking family. And my mom, she was a single mom, so she raised my sister and I to be very hardworking people.
I
Who,
guess.
I think we touched on this before, but my mom had always had multiple jobs and was very positive about everything, and just always taught us you can do whatever you really want to do and just go for it. Nobody's going to tell you you can't do it. If you really want to do it, make it happen. And she always gave us tons and tons of support and just said, whatever you want to do, as long as you're happy, you're going to be fine. And that's the key, is to find out what makes you happy. And she let us just do our own thing and figure it out. My sister started out as a dance major, and she thought she loved it. And then now she's a lawyer. So you just you do your things. And if you have support with family, friends, businesses, anything, you can move mountains. You really can.
Yeah.
And that's what's really helped me get to where I am, is always had support.
Yeah. Well, I think that's incredible. And is most of your family still in the New York area, or are they all over?
Most of them are in the New York area.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's nice. I know my mom's family is a very big family, not 12, but 8, and I think we're from Alaska down, I don't even know. We're all over the place. So it's kind of like I miss not getting to see them as often as we once did.
Yeah,
Um
I mean, we don't get together as much as we used to.
sure.
The My aunt used to live down the block, and she had the family house after everyone kind of moved out, and that's where we would always have holidays. And there was always, somebody coming in and out. And the kitchen was so big, there was a couch in it. So,
I love it. I love
yeah.
it. Well, I know thank you for sharing the floral journey with, doing all the different things you do. And it's always fun to hear just kind of how different people's journeys have been and where
Yeah.
they go.
Yeah. Thanks
And
for letting me come on and tell my silly stories.
Sure. No, they're not silly at all. I love them. I always like to end with a piece of advice, and you just gave this great piece of advice from your mom, but I'm wondering if there is anything else in particular you'd like to share.
Well, just a couple things that I've learned from when I got into the film business that have helped me throughout my entire career. One is if you show up on time, you're late. So that to me is very important. And that's one of our tests when we have a new assistant come on is like, okay, let's see if they show up on time by themselves the first, day. So that's like a great piece of advice I've carried with me my whole career, and it has really served me well. And the other thing is just be kind. Be very kind to people and don't be afraid to ask questions. If you want to get somewhere and you're curious about something, ask about it. Most of the time people are more than willing to answer your questions and help other people. Just help people out. Just be kind to your neighbors, be a kind person. And you're going to feel better about yourself and you're going to feel better about the future. And those are the things that I just they stick with me. I'm always kind to people. I don't judge people. I give them a chance. If they're yelling at me, I'm like, whoa, what happened to you today? Like, dial it back and you want to start over, you want to come back in that door. um yeah, and just be kind. You don't know what people are going through, and
Yeah.
you'll really, I think that it just helps people out to just take a step back and just be kind.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And I think that is really true. And I think we, especially like right now, as we're recording this, Valentine's is going on and people are stressing out. And it's like sometimes you just got, like you said, back up, take a breath, and we're all in this together. And two, I want to say, I feel like in the floral industry, more than not, people want to help. I mean, people remember what they've been through or what they had to get, to get through things, and they do genuinely like to answer a question or, to be a flower friend and
Yeah.
share. And
Yeah, well, I mean, we're in a service industry. We're
yeah,
servicing people. We're, trying, it's almost like a hospitality situation. You're like the first person sometimes that these vendors, there's other vendors there and people are loading things in, and, everyone's just trying to help out and get the event done. And I think it goes a long way to just, open a door for somebody or just help them out. I had one of the girls down the hall from us, she does floral design, she does weddings, and one day she came knocking on my door and she's like, Kim, my air conditioning went out. Do you have a cooler? And I'm like, no, but I got a studio next door that's got air conditioning. Let's just move all your flowers in there. And she was like, oh my God, and that's the right thing to do. Not like, oh, well, too bad. I got my own thing going on, just like help people out,
yeah,
no
yeah.
reason not to. There's no reason not to.
No, there isn't. Yeah, because I mean, and the thing is we all have opportunities to pay things forward like that,
Absolutely.
and I think that so many times it's really important that we do that because I don't know. I think it comes back to you. So
Yeah.
it's
I think
it's
that
worth it.
trend needs to come back in. It was in style for a while. Everybody was paying it forward, and I think that's such a great thing. I love when people do those surprise drop-offs and just surprise people with things. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
too. Well, Kim, thank you so much for being on the Flower Podcast.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. That was a blast.